Hello.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another. It's just Kathy and Mark
That's right.
doing a little review of a big TV show that has
Huge.
just started airing on HBO Max.
Hmm.
Before we get into that and our thoughts on the first episode, let's quickly mention about our membership program on our YouTube channel. For $2.99, you're a Mondo and you get emojis, member shout outs, priority replies,
Who doesn't
badges.
love that?
It's really cool. I mean, there's a lot of fun things
It's
there.
pretty fun.
Yeah, and for if you go up to the next level, which is only $2 more, it's $4.99. It's not a big cash outlay. You get the member request videos, that bottom one, which basically is you can say, "Hey, Mark, Kathy, Burke, I like this movie or I like this TV show. I want
Yeah.
you to review it," and it is
Hmm.
our responsibility to review it for you.
And you get a call out in the video, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And also, we just added a perk that's not even on this list where you get to be a member of this new Slack channel. So you get to
Uh huh.
talk to me and Mark and Burke and Elizabeth and Lara and whatever guest we have who is a member of our Slack channel. You get to interact with them personally, so that's pretty fun. And it's brand new, and it's still getting gearing up, and people are posting a lot of things they want us to record, and it's
You can
really
get
fun.
you can get in on the ground floor because
Be an OG.
everybody is really fun and respectful, and it's all good stuff, and it's all
Hmm.
about movies and TV shows, the stuff that we like to talk
That's
about, and
right.
hopefully that you like to talk about. So
That's
anyway, that's enough of our plugging. Let's talk
right. Okay.
about House of the Dragon.
So House of the
The
Dragon. So I'm representing, as you can see,
Yeah, I can
House of the
see.
Dragon. Um, and so here's the deal. I am a Game of Thrones fan. I read the books. I saw the whole series. Mark is a Game of Thrones holdout. He just won't do it. So
I've
he's
watched
only seen a couple episodes. Lame.
Yeah, I've only watched a few episodes. This is not, and I've told this before on other, podcasts or episodes that this particular genre is just something that I don't warm to. When I see horses and knights and
I don't
it,
either. See, that's why
it's
I'm shocked it won me over.
right. And I know Kurt, Kathy, and Burke obviously have great taste in TV and movies. No, they do. I mean, and so I know that Game of Thrones is great because everybody else loves it. I know Game of
Yeah.
Thrones ending was questionable. I get it. So I said, I'm going to watch the prequel because I know
Yeah.
I should
Start
know
from
stuff
the
going on.
very
But
beginning.
it's almost like watching Better Call Saul before Breaking Bad, which,
Sort of, but
but that's,
I think it's relative. We'll start.
yeah,
So
let's start. Okay. So we
so
both watched the episode last night. So Kathy, go ahead.
yeah. Well, okay. So first of all, I love that in the opening, instead of this really elaborate, insane credit sequence, they kept it super simple. You just see the logo, and it kind of gives
Right.
some. And I
Right.
thought that was kind of nice because in Game of Thrones, they had the spectacular open that had all
Right.
this,
Right.
um, cool graphics and 3D and all such stuff. So it was
Very
nice that
epic.
they went the opposite of that.
Yeah, a very epic opening. This is much smaller,
Yes.
and it feels like, again, I'm a novice here, but at least this first episode feels a little smaller, a little bit more
It's more intimate.
confined, intimate to this
Yeah.
family, this royal family, and what's
Yes.
going on, the machinations behind
Hmm.
the scenes there, and what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
It's not huge, big. Of course, there's a beautiful dragon in it, and there's a big jousting, segment. So there is some of that too,
Right.
but it feels small.
Dude, you just went right to the end. Anyway, so I'm starting with the credit sequence.
Okay, all right, go
So
ahead.
anyway, so since Mark doesn't know what the hell he's talking about when it comes to Game of Thrones, I'll just no, but so the kind of cool part is I think about the shows. It starts off, it puts you right in the middle of this family, the Targaryens, who are famous for being the dragon riders. They had ruled over Westeros for so long, just the entire territory. Now, when we were in Game of Thrones, it was broken up into different territories under different families, under houses.
Right.
So they came over and just took over. It's like having nuclear weapons. They have dragons. They just overwhelmed everyone. So they brought in their dragons, and they're the only ones who can ride them. They don't burn them like the Targaryens don't feel fire. You can't burn them. So that's why they're especially good at riding dragons. So what I thought was great, because if you go back to Game of Thrones, and this is little bits of spoilers, there was some stuff with Dany the Targaryen. She's the main character in Game of Thrones that you were following through the whole thing. And she had some bad dragon stuff happen in the last season. So what was great about it is that it opens with this beautiful, joyous dragon riding scene with the new Dany, who's her
Right.
like distant niece, I think. And her name was, and I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, Rainia? Rainier.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a little trouble with the name. We always have trouble with Game of Thrones names because they're all made up and weird. So anyway,
Yeah.
so but I liked it. It was kind of like they were like, here's your relief from Game of Thrones. We're going to give you this beautiful dragon ride. No drama, just beauty and joy. And it was great. So I love that. And each Targaryen has her own dragon. So that's her dragon. It's a little smaller, a little more beginner style because she's very small. So anyway, the big opening scene is they have to find a successor because the king is getting old. So he has to decide between a woman or a man, basically, in the family. So he chooses the man.
Right. So, the rightful successor.
King Viserys.
Yes. Right.
So he looked thrilled to be named as his successor. I love where he's like, and it goes this Viserys. And he goes, oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, because he has a younger brother who really is, and what's his name again?
Smith. Daemon.
Yeah. Daemon. And so he's obviously he's really sort of intense and violent.
Oh, wait, this is a whole separate thing. So it was only between the brother and the sister.
Right.
So now that Viserys has ruled for years, he's a decent dude, nothing terrible, peaceful rule.
Right.
But his brother, now we'll get to his brother, because now they have, he's a successor technically to this territory now. So his name is Daemon Matt Smith, who's the really bad boy. He doesn't take anything seriously. He doesn't show up to the meetings. He's out having fun in Flea Bottom and wherever he is in King's Landing and the fun part.
And he also sort of rules this guard, the Gold Guard or something.
Yes, they give him an assignment. It's like give him something to do.
And they do some pillaging and dismembering of
well, you got to clean up the streets, so go in there and just cut people up. So that was so until that scene, it was a pretty. It was a parlor game, kind of Game of Thrones kind of feel. Like there was all politics, there was positioning, there's trying to figure out what's the right thing to do, how do you rule, what are you going to do. The big drama is his wife is pregnant, he has only had daughters, and you can't give the throne to a woman. That's crazy. So he has to have a son born. That's the big suspense of the whole episode, was it has to be a son, right? So no one knows for sure,
right?
And the wife is very nervous because she's lost a lot of pregnancies. They've always been really difficult.
Right.
So that was a little stressful. And also, I hate birthing scenes.
Well,
I knew
me
that was
too.
Coming. I hate it.
And this one is particularly gruesome.
They rolled out all the stops on this one. So anyway, Matt Damon's out running around. Matt Damon.
Matt Damon's. Yeah.
Damon.
Yeah. Damon. Matt Smith.
Damon Targaryen.
Yeah.
He is not suitable at all to be king. I mean, he would be the worst king ever. He'd be terrible and cruel, and you just know he would be. And Matt Smith's great at this. He looks so legit,
Yeah, he does.
So then you have him hey, why don't we give him some do clean up the streets? There's a lot of crime. So he just takes it to the nuclear level, and they all go down there and just chopping things up and going, you can't rape people if you don't have a penis. It's like kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, to celebrate the birth of the child, we're going to have a big tourney. Now, I don't know if you saw any tourneys in Game of Thrones from the episode.
I did.
Very big deal. Very big deal.
Right.
And very brutal, right? So when a tourney's coming, it's not like, yay, we'll do a little jousting. It'll be fun. Well, it's not like a Renaissance festival.
No,
it gets bad.
Somebody, people die. And even if after, you get off the horse, it can continue on in a kind of a,
your opponent gets to decide after he's knocked off, do you continue the fight or do you give in? And then it becomes bad.
Right.
And I keep wanting to say Matt and Damon together.
Right.
Damon. He decides to take part in the tournament, and he looks all so badass in his black.
He's got the real
armor.
Yeah, everybody else has kind of the generic armor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's the basic, and there'll be some spoilers. So the basic thrust of the thing was we have Matt Smith, Damon proving himself as a very formidable opponent who will not give up, and he's super cruel and brutal and horrible. We also have a big reveal of a super talented jouster who's super hot. So I think we have the new Jon Snow.
Yeah, I think that's his name was Christian, I believe. Yeah,
I think so. The only thing we're missing is a Tyrion type character. Like, this was a very serious, no humor at all. Like, very serious, but very, very in theme of Game of Thrones. One of the more serious episodes. But you're kind of missing that kind of, wild card that was. I think the Damon character is sort of going there, but he's not funny. He's dangerous. Whereas
he's the
Tyrion seemed like no one took him seriously because he's
right.
Tyrion.
No, there wasn't anybody like that. Maybe somebody will come in later
I'm hoping the
episodes.
humor will come in later.
Yeah,
They don't
'cause
have
this
to. They don't have to, but it would help, I think.
I think, listen, I didn't watch a lot of Game of Thrones, but I did get that sense that there were characters that you really liked and kind of got behind. And here I'm like, who do I like I like the king. I mean, also like the actor, Paddy Considine. I like him in
Did not
everything.
even recognize him hardly. I mean, he
I
looks
know.
so different.
He
Everybody looks so
different.
different.
Yeah.
I didn't even
And
recognize Olivia Cook. Like it took me a long time to all of a sudden realize that was her. Like she
who's
was
Olivia
from
Cook?
Bates Motel.
Oh, and who does she play? The
She
queen?
played the daughter, the friend who was sent to the chambers
Gotcha.
to entertain the king.
Oh, no kidding. That was her. Okay.
Didn't even
Yeah.
recognize her
I
because all
didn't
the
recognize
makeup
her
and the
either.
hair and
Yeah.
everything. You know.
Interesting.
But thing I liked about this that I'm hopeful for, it have felt very Game of Thrones. I love the little music cues that had a little bit of Game of Thrones music in it. Like there'd be a little and I also like that it is a Game of Thrones. They are actually doing politics. It's like I like that it stayed small. It's like so far, like Game of Thrones is a little overwhelming because there's so many characters with weird names. I kept this pretty small. You have a pretty tight group. You have that table. You have the girl who's very distinctive. You know, you have the king who's very young, and Matt Smith's character Damon. I can say Matt Damon again. And so I feel like they kept us sort of organized. Like they kept the politics. You knew there was a bigger story happening, but they kept it to the air that was very important to have. And who's gonna is it gonna be Damon, or is it gonna be this new baby, which is the threat to his succession?
Right.
So that was kind of the story. Now we know, of course, because we have a lot of episodes, it ain't gonna be that simple. There's no way.
No. And so, I mean, we won't go into, the whole, what happens in the whole, episode, but it is around those. So a novice to Game of Thrones, I picked up a little bit here and there. I heard the name Stark, one of their ancestors was there.
Some people kind of showed up.
Yeah, just briefly, but it was really around this new group.
Yeah.
The Lannisters, right? And so, but it was these new characters that are like 200 years before Game of Thrones or whatever it was, 170 years. So I totally get it. I totally get what's going on. I get the plot. I get the character. It's not like, man, I'm totally lost because I didn't watch the series. So that's good for me. So I can watch this series sort of knowing, and I'm sure stuff will come in as we watch that I won't pick up, that maybe Kathy or Burke can say, no, this is why this is happening here, and this is the connection, because that's what with Breaking Bad. I watched Breaking Bad first, then Better Call Saul. It's a different show and different everything, but there are cues to the previous show, and there will be in this one too. I would imagine. Right. The dragon is really awesome. Like they
did not hold back on dragons, which I loved, because that was something the first scene dragons to like season 2 or 3 or something. You saw eggs, so I love that they just dragons. Right away.
Dragons. And the first scene is this beautiful shot through the sky and flying and then landing. And then later there's a scene with the dragon doing something at a ceremony. Yeah. So that was really beautifully rendered and looked really good. The movie, it looks really good. I mean, it's on the dark side, but I think that's the sort of the palette that they're going for in this in the show, which is totally fine. Acting was great. Production value, top notch. I mean, everything you would expect from a quality HBO Max series. Yeah. So, I'm in, and, I felt
you're in because we're going to review each episode. Don't
and good. And here's the other
slow.
Thing. Well, no, I want to say this for me.
You think Game of Thrones is slow?
Well, the first episode, I think it takes its time. I mean, would you agree that it takes its time building characters, building the world, and then as the show got, later seasons, you really sort of kicked in with all that stuff. It pays off. I have no problem with that, because I think that sort of sets you up for the future episodes.
Yeah.
So, slow is not a bad thing. It's just like we have to know all these characters. There's not a ton of characters, but there's probably 5 or 6 major characters and other ancillary characters, like the people around, like the round table, like there's 3 or 4 others that are get what their sort of allegiances are to. I get a sense who one person is has some allegiance towards Damon, and some of the other ones don't, and that kind of thing.
Not too many people for Damon. They're only for themselves. When you really look at it, everyone's always for themselves. They act like they're serving for the king, but they are only looking out for themselves. Like, him sending his daughter in to take care of the king, that was no accident. Like
Right.
her stepmother, the Viserys' stepmother, also, like, did I
Yeah.
say Viserys? I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have trouble with the names. It's just gonna happen. But there's a few women on the sidelines trying to jockey for the position, but they always talk about there hasn't been a woman on the throne for 100 years. We can't end that rule now. It's like, why
Well, what
can't
was
you
that
end it?
term
I
that
don't know.
they called she was like the queen who would never be, or something like that. That was a term
Yes,
that was
yes. So
used
she
a
got to
few
walk around the
times.
table pouring wine. Is what her job
Right.
is now, instead of being a queen. It
Right.
was one or the other, queen or pour wine. I don't know. so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah.
It's interesting, but I'm taking it that the women here will have a much bigger role and will sort of take over. That's the sense that you get, that they'll flex their muscles in some way.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
it does
hoping.
seem very, very. They have some good, strong female characters. We had strong female characters in Game of Thrones. Just took a little while, because I remember in the first season, it felt like women were just getting beaten and raped the whole time. They had no power. It was all like just awful.
Right.
So,
Right. It changed.
that was took a while.
Did it?
But
Yeah.
but that's yes, it took a very long while, and then they were punished for anything they did. Oh, you want power? Take that. Boom. So nobody ended up doing too well. But this one starts off, it feels like there's a lot of good female characters. I think they're going to kind of make good on that. So I'm excited to see what happens, and then we won't be quite as I won't say misogynistic, but
well, that's kind of what it was. I mean,
it kind of was, but I mean, it kind of makes sense for the
ago.
time. Yeah,
Of course, yeah, of course. It was back then. It was.
Well, we don't know when
King's
it was.
rule.
It's sort of this other world and some other
I know,
time.
but they said
could be
year 101, which obviously wouldn't correspond with our year 101. But
yeah, I hope not. It'd be dinosaurs. But anyway, so no White Walkers. This is all way before any of that. I mean, I assume they're out there somewhere, but I'm hoping, because I thought that was the weakest part of Game of Thrones, is all of that. Just
the White Walker stuff.
I loved the politics, the first season, small politics, Ned Stark trying to figure out what's going on and all the corruption and all. And that was confusing for people. A lot of names, a lot of stuff to keep track of. There was a lot of people in rooms talking, but I kind of loved that. So I'm hoping there's a lot of that in this. So maybe some people think that's slow. I like it because I like the cat and mouse of it, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I think if that's what made Game of Thrones, I mean, they'll obviously keep it in there. And they alluded to some of the winter coming. They alluded to some things that might come later in the shows, or maybe later. Later meaning Game of Thrones. I don't know, but it's really well made. The acting is really good, top to bottom. Some people I've never seen. Like, I think her name was Millie Aycock, who plays
the young
she has a look
princess.
that's really interesting, and
she's very distinctive.
Yes, and so it's a good Sunday night, destination television, even though you can watch it anytime.
Big epic. So these are different showrunners in Game of Thrones. It's Ryan Condal, who did Colony, which was apparently, I didn't actually see that show, but I hear it was supposed to be well produced. And then there's also and he's a writer. And then we also have Miguel Sapochnik, and he was a director of some of the best episodes of Game of Thrones.
And he directed this one.
Yeah, and he directed this one, but also since he's on board and he's very esteemed in the Game of Thrones circles, that's promising. Don't know much. I mean, Condal maybe. I mean, he's a writer mostly, but to see, like, I'm gonna say Miguel. He directed Hard Home, The Battle of the Bastards, and The Winds of Winter, which were definitely some of the standout episodes.
Right.
And that's saying a lot, because we had a lot of great directors on that show, like some of the best in TV at all. Completely incredible. Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. I'm anxious to see where they go with it. They have a lot of weight on their shoulders, and they have to also kind of make up for the last season of Game of Thrones, which I can't defend it. It was terrible ending. But that's just me.
It's interesting because because there are a few friends I know that are, they're saying, I'm not going to watch this because Game of Thrones the last season was so terrible.
See, that's not fair.
And I feel like saying, I feel like saying,
it's not fair.
You can't. It's not the same people. It's not the same actors. Not even the same story. It's not even the same storyline. The same people writing the stories. It's like blaming something for something. It just happens to be under that Game of Thrones. You can't say, oh, that Spider-Man movie was great and that Spider-Man movie sucked. I'm not going to watch any more Spider-Man movies. Nobody does that.
I say that, but that's Spider-Man. There's way too many. I don't know how many times I have to see that fucking story.
You can talk about, or maybe Alien or something like that. But anyway. my
Yeah.
point is you have to
Yes.
give the show a shot,
You
and
do.
if you give the show a shot and you give it a couple episodes and it catches you, of course you're going to watch it. Of course you
I
will.
also feel like you need to give Game of Thrones credit. Now, yeah, none of us like the last season. That's hard for every show that ever ends. Is everyone always hates the last season or they hate finale? Hello, Lost. I'm talking to you. So it's like everyone hates last seasons. But until then, that show was fucking amazing. Not only that, but it was the biggest show ever on TV at the time. Huge, record breaking, insane, great stuff. So the show was fantastic. It just didn't do a great ending. And so
And,
I'm anxious to see them do another one because I feel like there's potential in the story.
and
So
also you do it in a different way. If they decide to go a little bit smaller with just one family versus a whole,
mhm.
world, then it's a different thing.
Yeah,
It's in the same world, but it's a different thing. It's almost like the Mandalorian is different than the Star Wars world. It's smaller, but
right.
completely, enclosed and complete. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But
We'll see. But also what I like about this, you're coming in fresh. You don't really know Game of Thrones, and is it possible for someone who doesn't know Game of Thrones to enjoy House of the Dragon? Because
well, I
it could
did.
be something. Yeah. So I think that's going to be interesting as we review this through the season. Is you not knowing the history, but still what you're getting out of it as a standalone story. I think that'll
And
be interesting for us
And
to
the
talk
other
about.
thing is, if it's really good, then I'll go, you know what? I really liked it. Now I'm going to
Mhm.
go back and watch the original. And maybe
Yeah.
a lot of other people that were like me or holdouts will do the same thing. So there is a marketing angle to this that makes sense for HBO. So,
Well, and also
um,
I think it'll inform you for Game of Thrones in a different way because they talk about Targaryens all the time and they talk about the dragons. So you're going to already have in your head their history going into Game of
yeah,
Thrones. So that's kind of an
yeah,
interesting idea too. So
right,
I
right.
think if you guys out there have not seen Game of Thrones, I still think it's valuable for you to start with this show. I think it's
Well,
okay to do that.
and you'll totally get it. It's not like you're
Mhm.
going to go, I have no idea what's going on. It's a completely
Exactly.
self-contained story and it starts fresh. And you go, well, yeah, this
Mhm.
is 200 years before Game of Thrones. So you
Yeah.
can go in and sort of start from the beginning.
Exactly. And I loved the first few seasons of Game of Thrones. I thought they're great. I loved all, like you said, the characters were all so vivid and and just Peter Dinklage, you cannot beat that guy. I mean, I do miss him in this. I wish he could come back, but it would be impossible because it's before his time.
Well,
But
yeah,
I wish there was a character like that. But he was such a standout, and they had so many star makers in that first one. So it'll be interesting to see if they can bring this kind of star power here. I mean, I think Matt Smith is a great actor. It remains to be seen if he, what they're going to do with this character. If he can, bring you to him like, like a Jon Snow or a Rob Stark or whoever else that
or
stood
even
out
that
for you in Game
that
of Thrones.
Christian character who had a small role in this, but I have a feeling he's going to be bigger, and maybe he's sort of the
Yes,
guy that sort of like the everyman guy that sort of you root for. I mean, I have a feeling that could be the case, but
he's too
um,
good looking. He'll be killed immediately.
oh, don't say
I think I'll
that.
give him like 3 episodes before his head gets cut off.
Okay, okay. Well, or
We'll
and
see what happens.
as far as the Peter Dinklage character, I mean,
Yeah.
if they went in and brought somebody that was like that, had that sort of effort, that quality, people would
Mhm.
say, "Oh, you're just trying to bring another, you're trying to, tick a
Exactly.
box," and it's like
Exactly.
you can't win either way.
No.
So they're going to do the story based on, this is the Fire and Ice series, right, from Martin. So
This
um,
isn't part of the series. This is separate. It was its own like a shorter novel.
okay, gotcha. But
So
anyway, they're going to go with that, and
yeah,
other characters will pop in, and maybe somebody will have that sort of
yeah.
vibe. But if they don't, it's not the story. It's okay. They're
Well, the thing's kind of interesting is because it doesn't have as much source material that it has to, stay loyal to. It has like a little bit more of an outline story. It's like a shorter story, so they can expand on it however they want. Like
exactly.
they have the luxury of 175 years between here and Game of Thrones to make their world happen however they want. And I
Yeah.
know R.R. Martin, personally approved these guys to do this. So,
Right. Right.
we'll see what he does. But let's see what happens.
Well, it's a good first episode. It was well
Yes.
made, and for somebody who resisted Game of Thrones, it's a good intro. Excuse me, into the show. Into the
Yeah.
whole world. So
Hopefully this will
that's
inspire you to finish out Game of Thrones because it really is great.
it I know it's great, and there's always this thing about like, oh my god, that's like 6 years. That's 6 years of an older show to watch, and I just have to get over that stupid hurdle, which I just do with a lot of shows that I just missed the first time around because there's all this new stuff I want to watch, But
Hmm.
that's not really an excuse; it's just what it is.
See, I
But it's
envy you
good.
having all that ahead of you. This beautiful discovery of 6 seasons of that.
I know,
So
I know.
good.
Yeah, so
Or
that will
was it
be
8?
fun to
I don't
do.
even know how many seasons it was.
I
Seems
think
like
it
a
was
lot.
6. I think it was 6. But
It was
House of the
great.
Dragon,
Yep.
a Game of Thrones story on HBO Max just
Mhm.
started yesterday, so
We're
you can
gonna try
watch.
and do episodic reviews every
Yeah,
Monday if we
because
can
this
get
is
it.
you can't binge it. It's obviously at week to week, old
Yeah.
school, which I like. I kind of like,
Mhm.
it's like the way it
I
used
do
to
too.
be. So it's like, hey, we get to kind of talk about the show, we get to
Mhm.
think about it, let it,
Yeah.
marinate, and then we kind of wait for the bated breath for
People
episode
can't get
2.
ahead of you and spoil it. Like, you all get to enjoy it at the same time, and that's what
Right.
makes it fun.
Yeah.
All
Cool.
right. So see
That
you
was
next time,
fun.
you guys.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.